What's maybe the biggest thing you've learned since taking this job in December?
I think the biggest thing I've learned is just to be able to adapt and to adjust, right? Like nothing is always going to go as scripted in every area, in every department, and just the ability to trust your plan that you put in place, trust the people that you got in the building to perform their jobs on a daily basis, and to be able to adapt and adjust when things aren't scripted.
How proud of you of the staff and the recruiting efforts to, you pulled in some big names. Kind of, that's what's going to take this program to the next level, I think. So.
Yeah, I'm extremely proud of the work they've done. Obviously, signing day is a long ways away, so we got work to do to keep guys committed and to fill the class. But just the diligence with what they work, the attitude and the effort that they pour into the relationship side of recruiting and presenting a plan has been awesome, and they've exceeded my expectations, and I had pretty high expectations of the people we brought in the building.
Coach, you obviously can't talk about names that are in this 24 class, but what excites you about what you guys are building with this group particularly?
I think it's what I'm most excited about is the class sort of also represents the characteristics of what we have in the locker room right now, and that's you got a bunch of guys that love football for football, not for the things that come along with it. It's not for Instagram followers or Twitter likes. They love ball, so we get a bunch of guys that love ball. You can come to a common ground and gel as a team, and definitely provides positivity in the locker room.
Hey, Ryan, you guys start camp in a few days. Are guys like Gus Hartwig, Garrett Miller, Daniel Johnson, some of those guys that had big injuries, are they going to be there to start camp full go?
I would say some of them will. Obviously, timing of injuries plays a part into where they're at in the rehab process. But I can tell you that Elise and her staff has done a great job, along with Coach Rowe, of putting a plan in place to allow them to be healthy enough to participate when they're ready. And those guys have done their part in attacking the rehab every day.
Ryan, amid all this talk about hazing, kind of what's been your message to the staff and the players amid everything that's been going on?
And one, that it's unacceptable. Obviously there's conflicting reports of what was going on or taking place, and I wasn't there, so I don't know. But if hazing was occurring, that's wrong, and there's no place for it. And it's just a reminder that you got to be in tune with and in touch with what's going on in the locker room. And we've got a leadership council in place of 15 or 18 guys that represent the locker room, and so we'll meet with them once a week and just talk about all things that pertain to what's going on, good or bad in the program, and it's just a reminder to have a definite pulse of what's going on with the team.
Ryan, what's it like to be a rival now with Brett Bielema, and what's that dynamic like?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously there are just the conference and the proximity. You have recruiting battles with one another, but we only play them one time a year, and so I wish him and that staff, all the best, and those guys locker room all the best, except for one day out of the season. But obviously I owe a lot of my progress and where I'm at today because of my time the last 2 years in Champaign.
What do you think the biggest areas of improvement are heading into Purdue?
We bolstered the roster for sure. We had a lot of turnover. Obviously, a lot of production was gone from the last season, and they had a great year, right? They played in the Big Ten Championship, played in the January 2nd bowl game. But a lot of those guys left that did a lot of playing, and so it was good to go through spring and really evaluate the roster and attack the transfer portal with precision and being strategic about what roster spots we're going to fill and what type of guys we needed to add to the locker.
In terms of play calling, what's kind of your collaborative vision with Purdue?
So Graham's the offensive coordinator; he's going to call the plays. Kevin Kane's the defensive coordinator; he's going to call the plays. I've been blessed to surround myself in this program with guys that are capable and high quality coaches and men, and so it's my job to do my job and allow them to do theirs.
How pleased are you with the transfer portal, plugging those holes in the O-line, the D-line, the secondary?
Very pleased. I feel really good about where our roster is at right now. We've got the 85 on campus, 120 guys in the locker room now, and we feel good. So we got to definitely prepare them with the tools that we'll need from a schematic standpoint on game days to have success, and health will obviously definitely play a a part in a vital role to our success coming season.
It's been a whirlwind 7 months for you. I mean, you really had to hit the ground running and everything too. Everybody tells me that you are prepared for this. I think you are prepared for this. But give me like a misconception maybe that you uncovered maybe quickly or over the last 7 months where you're like, hey, I thought this is the way it was going to be as a head coach, and it just kind of tells you, it ain't going to happen like that.
Well, I think so it has been calming just to. I've known I wanted to be a head coach for a long time. So I've been preparing for it for a long time, and I've been blessed to be around people that have influenced me and poured into me in terms of allowing me to reach my goals and be sitting in front of you today as a head coach at Purdue. But the thing that I think was something you can't really prepare for is just the recognition, right? Like you've been in the community and people recognizing who you are, recognizing who your family is. Those are some things that people don't really talk about, but it definitely occurs and can be. You get caught off guard if you're not cognizant about it.
Off of that, how eager are you just to go coach ball now? And
I can't wait. Man. Next week can't get here fast enough. Football is what we love to do, and so when you get a chance to go do it, you get excited about it.
You think people are kind of maybe underrating or maybe aware of how good Hudson Card can be? Because I know you guys get a lot of praise for him.
Yeah, I mean definitely, but to everyone's to everyone's credit, like he hasn't played a lot of ball. He's had some spurts, and when he's been out there, he's had success. But he still hasn't had a ton of experience. And so, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, so to speak. And you got to let him kind of go through the season and let the chips fall in there.
Hey Ryan, you mentioned earlier about building depth, adding to the transfer portal. What are some areas before you get into camp that still keep you up at night that you're still kind of concerned about heading into the season?
Well, we got a lot of veteran guys on the team now, but all those guys haven't played with each other a lot. So chemistry is at all-time high right now, but that's easy because nobody's keeping score yet. And so it's when we have adverse moments, when things aren't going our way and things get tough, just how those guys will respond. You can try to fabricate those scenarios in practice, but until you go through it throughout the course of the season, those are just the unknowns. I feel confident in how they'll respond. I think I've got a good pulse on what type of young men we got in the locker room. But until you go through it, those are questions that can't be answered.
Gotcha. Who are some of those transfers that have impressed you that have lived up to what you guys thought they could be when you watched the tape?
Every single one of them. We wouldn't have brought them in if we didn't feel like they could go compete for a starting spot and help us win a championship. So everyone to a man that we've brought in, I've been impressed with.
And what about the freshmen? Whether it's guys, you guys talked a lot about Will Helt in the spring, but just freshmen you've seen this summer and throughout the spring.
Yeah, this summer the guys that stick out. Will Helt, Dylan Thieneman, George Byrne. Those guys. They look like they're physically ready and they've got the right makeup and mentality. So I'm excited that they're on my team.
When you're recruiting now, how quickly does NIL come up when you're out talking to these guys?
Immediately, especially obviously when you're dealing with the transfer portal. Not as much with the high school kids, but it's definitely a topic of discussion.
Where you guys were picked in the preseason poll, that's something that you guys should even look at and pay attention to.
I mean, we see it. We see it. It ain't a secret. I'm happy. It's what everybody feels, and so we just got to chip our shoulder. Got something to prove.
I know you said Kevin Kane's calling the plays here, but you obviously have that defensive background and everything. If I'm correct here in the stat that I saw, nobody ran more cover zero last year than you, sir. Can we expect that kind of aggressiveness here? Is that something that you said, hey, I'd like to go that kind of route? Because you've obviously been very popular with the defensive backs, and I think they like those one-on-one battles. Can we expect that level of aggressiveness?
It's funny. As a secondary guy and a defensive guy, your main focus is not to give up explosive plays and touchdowns. And so usually that doesn't equate to zero pressures more than anybody in the country. So when I saw that stat, I was shocked. You also couple having the best pass defense since like 2013 or something like that. Usually doesn't equate to zero pressure, right? That's just not. It's not something that usually correlates. So I just think it was a microcosm of being strategic when we would pressure a year ago and taking what the offense gave you. If they gave you opportunities to go heat them up with and having an educated guess on in terms of what kind of plays you were going to see, then that's what was allowed for it. So I think just what our opponents do, who's on our roster and what their strengths and weaknesses are will dictate how aggressive or how conservative we'll be on game days.
How
beneficial are stadium upgrades and renovations to recruiting to, you know, just the overall feel of the program is a big time program?
It's definitely a positive. I mean, anytime you get on campus and you see construction, you know that the place cares about improvement and wanting to be on the forefront of you know, being innovative and having, you know, all the aesthetics that top programs have. And so I think it'll add to the game day experience, and it'll be a positive experience for our players as well.
Hey, Coach, Marcus Imbo, he played a lot of guard last season. You played some tackle in spring. You guys starting him at tackle in camp next week? Is that the plan?
Yeah, I think that's the plan right now. Again, we got a bunch of guys that have a lot of versatility up front, and so we'll try to find the right combination of guys that give us the best chance to move the ball.
I got you. And then talking to some people here, some different analysts that cover the sport yesterday, they talked about your defense as the defense is like a 3-3-5 adaptation. Do you find that accurate? How would you kind of explain that?
No, it is definitely not 3-3-5. It's definitely not 3-4. It's its own deal. You know, we got five. We're big where we're supposed to be big. We're fast where we're supposed to be fast. And I think that in today's college football, with the way the offenses we're trying to attack you defensively, that's just the more advantageous personnel package to have on the field.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.